Oh boy, what a week it has been in Hearthstone. We have a bunch of new content in the game, bunch of new changes, updates in the game. First of all, the Hallow's End. We've already talked about that in a previous Hearthstone report. We have the Monster Smash Tavern Brawl, and the Headless Horseman Tavern Brawl, which is going to happen afterwards. You're also going to get a free arena run from that. You probably already have done that because that's been a few days ago, but the whole Hallow's End theme is the Witchwood thing.
Yeah.
So that's live at the moment.
It's basically, oh, hey, the Warcraft universe always has their holidays that are similar to real world holidays, and Halloween is coming up, so yeah.
So it's that's the Witchwood. However, what we also have is probably the most important thing concerning the actual gameplay is the balance update.
Yes.
The nerfs. The nerfs. In my opinion, wonderful nerf. I absolutely love what they did. And they nerfed 3 cards.
Well, I personally not too huge on the nerfs.
Best nerf ever.
But they do definitely make a lot of sense. Yes. I'm not saying that like from a completely neutral standpoint about, you know, trying to get the game as diverse as possible and as much fun to play. Those nerfs are definitely sensible. There is definitely a lot of people that disagree with the cards that were nerfed and how they were nerfed. But
I think more people disagree with cards not being nerfed. I think not a lot of people will doubt that these cards are okay to be nerfed, but I think a lot of people are complaining about the lack of Druid cards being nerfed.
Yes, which is actually though a good thing, because if specifically Spreading Plague, that is one that they talk about a lot, would be nerfed, that would make Druid more susceptible to aggro, which inherently is not a bad thing because that makes Druid less flexible, but that also means that even more matchups will be decided even earlier in the game, which makes the game even more predictable, and less and more predictability means less fun and less
it's not like aggro
strategy.
It's not like aggro isn't strong enough already, because Spreading Plague is one of the best defensive measures against things like Odd Paladin.
Yeah, so
which is still the best ladder deck. So,
not nerfing Spreading Plague makes perfect sense.
Also, it has been nerfed before.
Yes, but that has never stopped them.
No, but it's a really good card.
How often did they nerf the Royal Quest? Like 3 times?
Yeah. Did they always nerf it? Did they buff it one time? I don't know.
They reduced the reward somewhat recently, and then
they also reduced the
they upped the requirement.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was 2 only. But
it might have been play 5 and then play 4 and they become 5/5s. Right now it has become play 5 and they're 4/4s.
Yeah.
And it's still played. So I think they made 3 changes to Unleashed Hounds over the years. So these nerfs that we're gonna talk about, in my opinion, wonderful, great nerfs. So first of all, we have Giggling Inventor.
Yes, they changed it from 5 mana to 7.
To 7.
It's a bit overkill.
It's alright, I like it.
It would have sufficed to put it to 6.
It's the perfect amount of kill.
I suppose they wanted to make certain that they weren't messing anything up with the evens and odds, although I don't think that matters that much.
No, I don't think so.
I think 6 mana Giggling Inventor would have been completely reasonable.
I like the 7 mana.
The 7 mana is basically not even worth playing.
No, it's not playable, which is the exact state that Giggling Inventor needs to be in. Let's be honest. I mean, now that this card is dead, the Boomsday, of course, has lost a lot of its impact, because this was the most played card from the Boomsday.
Yes,
and arguably the most impactful. So now this is dead, which I'm okay with. I used to play it in a deck or two, just as the 5-drop.
Yeah,
which is a pretty good one, pretty good defensive tool, token tool. I'm okay with this. Apparently, they found that it's still too strong at 6, definitely too strong at 5. I'm okay with this. I'm not gonna miss this card much. Get your 200 dust. It's a full dust refund right now. Yeah, no problem.
I still think that 6 would have been enough, but I guess opinions can differ on that.
I think it's better to over nerf it than to under nerf it. So if they're gonna put it at 6 and it turns out to still be too strong,
fair enough. But on the other hand, you don't really want to make cards unplayable.
But there's thousands of cards, man. If there's one more card that's now not playable, that's not that big of a difference.
Yeah, of course, but
it's better to do it that way than to have more complaints going on right away that your update didn't do nothing. It's still too dominant, right? I mean, so then I'd rather be on the safe side.
The Spiteful nerf was rather impactful.
Yeah, the Spiteful nerf will subside. Yeah.
Same for the Spreading Plague nerf.
Yeah, Possessed Lackey too.
Although Spreading Plague is still played very much, but yeah, you do notice the changes.
But those are also class cards. This being a neutral card is...
Spiteful Summoner is not a class card.
Spiteful Summoner is not, but Spreading Plague is, and so is Possessed Lackey. Now, this being a neutral card makes it even more played and even more dominant because of the versatility of the card. So, I'm totally cool with this, but let us know what you think about it. Now, the next one is Mana Wyrm. I love this nerf.
I don't think it was absolutely necessary. I can see why they did it.
I absolutely adore this nerf. Now, anyone who has spent significant time on this channel listening to us talk about Hearthstone knows that I think that all mages should die in a fire. And Mana Wyrm is a really, really good starting point. It's a horrible class. It should not be in the game. And Mana Wyrm hopefully won't see that much play anymore. Because typically what happened against the Tempo Mage is that when you had a Mana Wyrm on the board on one, that upped their win rate by like 5 to 10% or something. That's crazy. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. So the main problem with Mana Wyrm was that it coming down early was a very high likelihood of success. The Mana Wyrm single-handedly could win you a game if your opponent didn't have a way to deal with it.
If you have it on your starting hand.
There would have been other ways to fix it, like instead of increasing its mana cost, you could have, for example, decreased its health.
Yes.
A lot of people have suggested that it as a 1-2 would already be significantly weaker because it would die to a lot of, well, first of all, a lot of AoE is 2 damage.
A lot more things.
The Odd Rogue's Dagger is 2 damage. A lot of minions will have 2 attack that you play early on. So that might have already been enough. Again, I think this is a very, very significant nerf. And
oh yeah, sure.
They, once again, might have ever so slightly overdone it. Although it is kind of hard to nerf a 1-mana card without it being a very significant nerf.
I think it's good nerf. The 1-mana 1/3s with a special effect, this was still the strongest in the game, in my opinion.
Of course. As I said,
you had Northshire Cleric, you had I guess Voidwalker, but those just aren't on the same level. Even though Cleric can be strong, but not that type of obnoxiously strong. That's
why nerf 2-mana Wyrm is very sensible.
They hit the right card.
I'm just not sure if the exact nerf that they used was
they did only do mana cost nerfs. The last one is concerning Wild in particular. They nerfed Aviana from 9 to 10 mana.
Yes, and
which
this
is tough.
Is one that I strongly agree with.
It's tough
because the combo, first of all, still works. The Aviana Kun combo. You just need to get the 1 mana somehow. The easiest way to do that is probably Innervate or Coin.
You need to get the 1 mana, and you also need to draw them, because Psych Metal now won't draw them.
Exactly. That is the biggest.
That's actually pretty huge.
But that is sensible, because it's insane that you can draw your entire winning combo with 1 card.
Starliner, those 2, Togwaggle.
Yeah, I was thinking Togwaggle, Azalina, and those 2, but it definitely makes sense that they would change this insane combo that has been problematic and Wild, and this is a good way of doing it because it doesn't entirely break it, but it makes you jump through some extra hoops to get there, which is the way Combat X is supposed to work.
Yeah, I would have preferred if they had increased the cost of Kun, but that's my personal opinion.
If they had increased the cost of Kun, it wouldn't have changed anything, though.
I know, but wouldn't that be good? Like increase Kun to like 12 mana?
So you couldn't blame at all outside of the combo?
Yeah.
No, that's stupid.
Exactly.
So this, again, combos are supposed to not be easy to pull off.
Yeah.
But rewarding when you do. So it makes perfect sense to change Aviana in that way.
I don't think it's gonna work out nearly as well as it did so far. Now, that being said, I don't play Wild on the high rank, so this never bothered me. I literally never faced this.
Well, yeah, same, but
I know that it was pretty good. That it was one of the most dominant decks ever with the Aviana Kun, and then that's really the broken interaction that right there. Yes. Those 2 cards, and after that,
and then they made it more accessible
with Psych Melon.
Thanks to Psych Melon. So yeah,
even Starliner. We thought Starliner would be the worst card in the history of Hearthstone.
Well, I mean, it basically is when you're talking about standard.
Outside of this, yeah.
Inherently, the cards that hit is definitely sensible. The exact extent of the nerf is debatable whether or not it's sensible. two things that I want to point out real quick is that, first of all, a few weeks ago, the Hearthstone team released an article called In the Works.
Okay.
In which they specifically mentioned that they're okay with the state of the meta and that they do not plan on any changes, and that they're happy with how Giggling Inventor is working.
Of course.
So the fact that they explicitly called out that they did not want to do this and then did it anyways.
Yeah, because then complaints came up and people started playing Magic instead of Hearthstone on stream.
Yes.
Or whatever, and then they jumped to action. But I'm cool. I'm really cool with this nerf. Aviana is the one that you most agree with. It's the one that I care the least about. Mana Wyrm is huge. That makes me sleep better at night, like unironically. And Giggling Inventor, I'm totally fine with. I was cool with the game as it was before Inventor, and I'm gonna be really good with it with the way it is now.
One other thing is cards that they could have nerfed, or one card in particular. We talked about how Druid is relatively strong.
Yes.
One card that would have made a lot of sense to definitely nerf. We've discussed how Spreading Plague would not be that good to nerf for a multitude of reasons. Yeah. Another card that Druids run just as much, if not more, I believe actually
Spellstone?
More. No, I was gonna say Nourish.
Nourish? You want to nerf Nourish?
Yes.
How are you gonna do that?
Well, there's two ways you can do that.
Bump it up to 6.
Either bump it up to 6, which is...
I think Nourish is okay.
A bit problematic because if you're nerfing your ramp to be playable later, that makes it a lot worse because of the whole ramp thing. The other option that I've actually read, and is a very small nerf, but I think still is very sensible, is to change it to give you 2 empty mana crystals.
Okay.
So you can't then use the 2 mana right away when you play Nourish.
I think that would make it quite a bit weaker. I think I'm pretty okay with Nourish. If they're gonna nerf something, I would have thought about maybe branching past to 5 or something.
Well, the problem with or one big problem with Druid is that they have a really strong endgame.
Yeah.
Like a late game, like Malagos Druid, the Taunt Druid, all of those. Mecha'thun even. I don't think it's played. It's not played that much, but you know, like they have a lot of cool things they can pull off in the end game, and thanks to cards like Nourish, they can get there faster, which is why Druid is so insane because they have a combination of strong late game cards and an earlier late game,
exactly.
Which of course inherently is an insane combination.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of what they do, right? I think that the ramp is for the most part okay. It's kind of hard to really, because you don't want to destroy the class at its core, what it does. But I've actually read about Spellstone, because Spellstone is low-key one of the best, like Druid Spellstone, one of the best cards in the game.
The Druid Spellstone is insanely good too,
because of how easy it is nowadays for Druid to gain armor, thanks to stuff like Branching Pass and Ferocious Hallow.
Yeah.
Oaken Summons, of course. So the Spellstone is essentially always a 1 mana deal 6, and even a 1 mana deal 2 is a good card in itself if you don't upgrade it.
Yeah.
Talisman.
Oftentimes you'll also see it at 4, but like I've had it that I like coined out a 3-drop on turn 2. I was like, oh, you can't swipe it yet, and then they just
Spellstone it.
Ferocious Spellstone. What else before? Like they just Spellstone it because they already have the Spellstone up. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, Druid Spellstone is really good. I think it's the most ran Druid card.
But yeah,
together with Swipe, Nourish, Wild Growth.
The thing about the ramp is that usually a ramp turn is a turn where you don't do anything else or not too much else. Like the Wild Growth, for example, you don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
So for Nourish, you can still play 2 mana of stuff, which could actually be Wild Growth.
But then again, you're doing that on a 5 mana turn, so that's all you get. Or your Hero Power at the very least. So you're always getting something out of your turn. Nourish into Wild Growth is an amazing feeling. That's one of the best. Anyone who's ever played that knows that that's the best feeling in the world, because you know you got an O card coming up, and you know stuff is about to go down. That's a really good. That's a really nice thing. Actually, I enjoy that a lot. So I do play quite a bit of Druid these days, as anyone does, obviously. So I'm okay. I'm totally cool with this nerf. Odd Paladin hasn't been touched. Neither has Odd Rogue. Neither has even Shaman. So yeah, I mean, Odd Rogue tends to run the Giggling Inventors.
Yeah, the Giggling Inventors.
It's just as good without.
Also indirectly, because Blood Knights have been run a lot more because of as a counter to Giggling Inventor.
Well, yeah, that's gonna, of course. So is Mossy Horror.
Those are gonna go back
those,
down. Well, Mossy Horror isn't an odd rogue though for the obvious.
No, it's not an odd rogue. It's not an odd rogue, but those are cards that are impacted.
So yeah, a lot of more indirect impacts. I guess let's quickly mention there was more stuff released under the news banner on the Hearthstone website, though nothing that really is newsworthy.
They have a poem about Sir Annoy-O.
Yeah, they announced, of course, that Hell's End is here, and they
the Ballad of Sir Annoy-O.
And they released a developer insight on how they built the Hell's End event this year. Yeah. So if you want to read more about that, the thoughts behind the new Tavern Brawl, and how they feel that the themes connect well to the Witchwood, obviously, that kind of stuff.
Stuff, right?
Read that article.
Link in the description of this video.
Exactly. There's no point in going over that here now.
Go check that out for yourself if you're interested in it. There's a poem about the new Paladin hero. Which,
again, we're not going to read it out. Just
I can't explain why he isn't called Sir Laugh-A-Lot, but that's not my business. So that's all the news, I think.
Yes.
Is it everything for this week? The patches, the updates, nerfs are by far the most important ones.
Yeah, of course.
In my opinion, it's the best patch I've witnessed so far. So I personally been playing since Frozen Throne. I don't know what happened before that, but this is a wonderful patch. I like this. I'm gonna enjoy Hearthstone more from now on, knowing that Tempo Mage isn't gonna plague my thoughts wherever I go, because you only face it once in 30 games, and you lose 4 out of 10. But boy, you wanna throw something when you do. So that deck is it's the most hated deck for me in my opinion. But there you go. So that's the news for this weekend. Let me know what you think about it. What cards should have been nerfed that didn't get nerfed? What cards should not have been nerfed that did get nerfed? I don't think there's anything to really disagree with. But drop your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see what you have to say. And leave a like on the video too if you liked it. I hope you learned a lot. And again, go check out the articles, links to all the important stuff, description of this video. And we're going to see you in the next video, JJ.
That's it.
That's it.